Hey, hi everyone. My name is Jerry Wise, and I want to share with you the ways that adult children of narcissists love differently. How adult children of narcissists have been programmed in certain ways, which makes their love relationships very much different than others, because of their unique experience with trauma and with growing up with narcissistic parents that we will love in certain ways. And the good news is there's healing and recovery for all of these. Number one, we trust too easily and we don't trust enough. Oftentimes, adult children and ACONs will grow up and begin to experience life in polarities. We trust too easily, we don't trust enough. We trust too easily, we don't trust enough. And so we experience two different poles in our life. We want closeness, but then we rush to distance or withdrawal. We want more distance, but it pulls us into closeness. And we'll do this pendulum swing back and forth. In fact, I have a whole video on the swinging pendulum. Number two, we deeply desire commitment, but we also fear it like the plague. Deeply desire commitment, but fear it like the plague. And polarization is the universal that's underneath so many dysfunctional families and toxic families, and particularly narcissistic families. Number three, we're hyper attuned to everything. We can be hyper empaths, hyper vigilant, and we're very attuned to so much of what goes on around us. And in fact, probably even too attuned to everything that's going on around us and in a relationship. Number four, we can be swallowed whole by the person we love. We make excellent caretakers, but we have to work on becoming boundary makers versus being caretakers, because we've learned to be caretakers. And again, with being hyper-attuned, you have to be hyper-attuned and learn to be hyper-attuned to live in a narcissistic family. It is common to be swallowed up whole by the relationship in narcissistic families. And so we carry that on into adulthood. We're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, number five. And so we're always expecting something else to happen, because it always will. And we've learned that from the patterns we had in our childhood, that always something bad's going to happen when the good's going on. And I think there are ways in which we can recover from that and see life in a different light. Number six, we become easily enmeshed with toxic people. Our boundaries are down. So if we're a cell and we have a membrane, that membrane is very fluid and has holes in it, so we can enmesh very easily, because those boundaries and our sense of self, which is more the hard me, is not very hard. Myself is very squishy, and it's very like a sponge. It's not the solid self. And so what happens? We find our way to toxic people, and toxic people find their ways to us. Number seven, we are fiercely independent, and we often get into one-sided relationships. Since we are so independent, and again, we tend to stand back because we've learned to stand back emotionally. I mean, if you're getting yelled at, screamed at, abused, mistreated in a narcissistic home, your insides are going to stand back, and then we are going to be independent. I've got to be independent. But again, we're enmeshed while floating back and forth between too much distance, too much closeness, too much distance, too much closeness. And we keep doing the pendulum back and forth, and it can be rather maddening to do that. We are fiercely independent, but we do get into one-sided relationships. And then we will independently be overly loyal, overly giving, overly caretaking. We're very independent, but we will also push all of those traits and experiences we've learned growing up. I've got an online program in which I help those who have been through these experiences to understand them more and to also find a real sense of self. There's a training down there that you can get for free, which is finding the self you never were allowed to have. And then there's the online workshop, which is your new road to self. And I would recommend both of those, especially for these kinds of traits and many others. 8, we are afraid of being seen, so we either become visible by oversharing or disappear altogether by withdrawing. There again, we have the polarity going on for us and swinging back and forth. And so we will either overshare or, again, withdraw. And then we're back to the polarized life again. And ACONs live the polarized life. The good news is you don't have to. And there's a way to recover and heal. Number 9, we love like we're supposed to, not like we want to. So much of everything we know about love and relationships come from other people, what we've learned from other people, what we think society wants, what we think this relationship needs or wants, but it's not loving like we want to love. And that's common for adult children of narcissists. That is a common complaint. They usually don't state it that way, but that's kind of what's underneath what their complaint is about. Number 10, in our love relationships, we assume rather than ask. Toxic and dysfunctional families promote a lot of assuming. And when you grew up in your family, my hunch is not necessarily a lot was talked about, not feelings, it's mostly opinions get thrown about, control gets thrown about, judgmentalism gets thrown about, but not a lot of talking about things. And so you're supposed to assume what's going on. You're supposed to know that mom's upset. You're supposed to know that dad's upset. He doesn't have to come to you and say, hey, I'm really having a hard time today. I'm really kind of upset. Kind of ignore me. Go on with your, we'll be fine. I'll feel better tomorrow. Narcissistic parents don't do that and don't say that. You are to know and you are to act on that knowing. Well, we take that into adult relationships, and that's how we love again. And we love that way, assuming rather than asking. I have a lot of people I will work with and talk with, and many times the last thing they think about is, have you asked? Well, I've tried to do this and I tried to do that, and he kind of implied that, or she kind of implied that, and I tried. Have you asked them what they're thinking, what they need from you? And they're going, well, I didn't know you could even do that. No, I hadn't even thought of that as an option. These are some ways that adult children of narcissists love differently. I hope it's been a help today. Please get that free training below, Getting the Self You Never Are Allowed to Have, and the online program I think would be a real help to you, which is Your New Road to Self. I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe, comment, like. I hope you have a great day. Be wise.